to further enlighten us with the topics for today.
Very much. As we all know that this topic is, like when we talk about the SDG, there's hardly anything out of 17 SDGs where social, the equity is not there, Social equity is inherent in the entire democratic system, where the social equity means the every citizen, every person in a community is involved in the you know decision making process, which is only possible where the all section, the fruits of democracy are to be enjoyed by each and every section of the society, including the marginalized and the weaker section of the society. I will be talking more into the COVID perspective, like how social equity in general is defined, and how the reverse migration presently has further affected the marginalized section of the society. So in the largely, if you we talk about the like social equity just as a definition, that the fair access to the resources and opportunity, fair access to the resources and opportunities, and the full participation in the social and culture, political and economic activities within a community in decision making process. And sustainability, which is a comprehensive approach, how to, you know, uh, how to, a comprehensive approach to improve the overall livability and viability. Livability and viability, that what I mean to describe the sustainability. So the comprehensive approach to improve the livability and viability, not today, it is also today and also for tomorrow. That is called the intra equity, intra transitional equity, means like whatever we do today, we leave something behind for our progeny. So the social equity is inherent in democracy. It is inherent until unless the all section of society there is a substantive justice, or whatever the like the local government, the local so it is, it's not that the people can do and NGO can do. This is the state government structure, the role of state government structure. State players are very important. For example, in I am taking in the urban housing, when you are planning a city or urban housing, if you're also incorporating, like the government of India has incorporated the affordable housing, it means the city cannot be run solely on technology and other infrastructure until unless you have the artisans and the small workers and the laborers, liberal classes, and the daily wagers. These are the people who will be driving your vehicle, who will be working in the factory, in your house. So ultimately, it is the urban, the poor, the poor urban class. So we have to incorporate the social equity, that when you are right at the planning level of the project, the social equity has to be incorporated. And who will incorporate? It is the state player. It is the state government. The approach necessarily includes social equity, which refers to fair access to resources, opportunities, and also it entails the full participation in the social and cultural life of a community. And what is the central dimension? The central dimension is, I told you about the promoting livability and viability. So even in the context of the smart city, Anna told me they have written a book in smart city. If you just Google it out, smart city, I was one of the first, maybe the IPS officer in the country, 2016, who wrote on this. And my theme of the central theme of that, beside the other, smart cities, what we talk about in smart in India and what we talk about. So there, that what about the smart city for the, the rec pickers, the daily wagers? So how do we, how social equity can only be incorporated when we also look after their interests. So the state players have to, even by designing the smart city, you cannot leave just everything on ICT towers and big data, etc., etc. But what about those people who are going to support who will support the city? Either it is smart or whatever city or urban life. So this is why the government of India has added the affordable housing for those who are supporting the city as a menials, as a daily wagers, as a artisans, as a scooter mechanics and all that. And so those urban poor, so it is for them, when the conceiving or conceptualizing the progress, like presently, just see, as I talk about social equities and then the democracy, where each person has equal ability to influence the decision making of the government, the local government, within the community and the local government. And it is a innovative model. It is an open governance. I will go a little back into the background of 2008, when on the sidelines of the UN Assembly, United Nations General Assembly, there was a meeting of where in which 11 countries participated, including the US, UK, and France. And you will not believe, that time even Bangladesh participated. The 11 countries participated in what is called open government participation. So it is open government mean where, as you know, the true sense of democracy, until unless in the decision making process, you are involving the civic society and also the marginalized section of the society. So I will come about the different models, how to integrate the social equity and what are the strategies that will come later. But I'll give the local example, the open governance, where when before, like in the US, before the local managers, the district managers, as we all know that the governors, US, the governors are very, very, much powerful. I mean, just take the district. That is the real democracy. Trump has passed an order about those universities which are providing online education. If people can go back, because online education they can do from country, but a lower court, it was challenged. The two universities, Harvard and one more university, I think Wharton or some other university, challenge, and finally there was a stay. Can we imagine in India? We cannot. So likewise in the US, certain governor, like the coronavirus, could be finally controlled because of in New York, because of the very active governor general. And the certain governor in US, they said, though, no, state has got nothing to do with interfering in the regulating the public. The people are educated enough. They should know that they should wear the mask. They should maintain medical hygiene. They should, like that. But those places where you had such governor, that places suffered a lot. They had a lot of cases. So the open governance I was talking about, now we have got 77 countries in open governance open governance partnership, where all decisions are to be taken by all stakeholders. Don't you think these poor people, whenever you're planning a city, urban planning, or any decision you are going to take, or any amendment you are going to make, you must consult all the stakeholders. And stakeholders are also the civic society and also the marginalized section of the society. You must involve them, so that is the concept of the open governance. Of course, there are other things which it does not, it will not fit in here, like fiscal integrity and other things. Until and unless in the US, like when the district manager is making any policy or changes and any new policy, all stakeholders will involve in any suggestion by the stakeholder. So everybody will get a response why your suggestion is not being incorporated, and only then they will make a change. Except, so for example, like either it is a disaster management, like this is the COVID is a biological disaster. So just see that what is happening when like the reverse migration is taking place in a short span of time. As we are aware that there was a labor, these migrant issues, the mini migrants where they were workers. There will be a gradation in migrants also. Some people may be earning 30,000 a month or 40,000 a month. Somebody may be working as a driver. Somebody working as a in a hotel as a chef. So many migrant workers who were stuck up because short span of sudden lockdown in India. India is the only country where there is a sudden lockdown, where very otherwise the rest of the world, the time was given for the lockdown, sufficient time. So what happened that this migrant worker, and sadly there was not DBT, there was no direct transfer into their account. So many of the very poor migrant labor, they did not die of the coronavirus. They died of accident or they died of hunger and whatnot. So when they have gone back, after they were allowed to go back to their villages, what has happened because of the reverse migration? The village also, there is not job for them. But of course, the village community do support the poor, but it's still where it's the MNREGA which is supporting. But it's still just see some of the migrants' children who are studying in some kind of a school education. So the big chunk of them are going out of the school. Just see the how social equity is being compromised, marginalized, or routinely being compromised. Generally, it is very good to say that the social equity has to be incorporated by the state government or the district government or the local self-government. So you just see in the local government, 38% considered social equality. There was a research which I am talking about in the Tata Institute of, since Tanmay showed that, the Tata Institute of TIS Mumbai. I am a resource person in TIS Mumbai on governance and vigilance reform and also on the disaster. So they have done a survey that the local government, 38% considered social equity to be a priority. Only 38%. Of course, that is a TIS Mumbai where you have got more people coming from a relatively better off family. Of the most common sustainability activities that the local government did engage, so many water, energy, research, but they say when the research, when the interviews are taken, that people who are coming in TIS, there are people who come from the all different settings. The majority said it is the affordable housing. Just to ensure social equity in the urban planning, so they chose a word called affordable housing. And this is how this concept the Government of India and Niti Aayog has adopted. It is thanks to Mr. Tanmay's TIS Mumbai that this research has did. That just see there's people from different settings come to TIS Mumbai, and where they found this term affordable housing to be, then Niti Aayog issued a direction that and this is how they in the second tenure of our Honorable Prime Minister, the affordable housing is being projected to to do justice with the term called social equity. And so local government articulate social equity and also link it to the environmental and economic aspects of sustainability. Environment and economic aspect of sustainability also. And also that survey I'm talking about also showed that communities that rated as high performance in the social equities tended to have larger minority population, lower educational attainment and income, and lower housing value and home ownership rates. Only 2 to 5 communities with high levels of social equality activities reported having explicit equity goals in target. So the communities, the people from who are from the much higher family background and people from the relatively the lower family background who get admissions in the TIS Mumbai. So they found that the main focus, largely the people who were from the lower family, relatively from the educationally and economically lower educated strata. So they talked more about social equity. First was the affordable housing, and also the second was the availability of clean and drinking water, clean drinking water, potable water. Water is a great, is a, in Vidarbha in Maharashtra, where the water table goes very low. And in Jharkhand, where Tanmay Chakrabarti is aware, Chata cities are there. When I was the DIG, I was leading a force, we found that not less than unless you go to 300 feet, you don't get water. So water is very important, availability of water. And so likewise, what is happening in the COVID environment, when you're talking about social equity and sustainability, education sector, I'll come on all sector. Equity, when social equity means all the sector you can think about. This is why I say, talk about the energy, all these, SDG goals, social equity is a inherent, inextricably inherent part of the SDGs. So, Mumbai, there was a fish community. I am not able to recollect the exact local name. 500 years before in Bombay, which is, the land is surrounded by three sides by the water. The fisheries communities were living there, and now they have been pushed through. Still, there is, because of the urbanization, those communities, there is no change in their lifestyle. Likewise, in the mini coastal area, India, you have got uh, 11 states in India where you have got the largest, 38,000 miles, 48,000 miles kilometer, just see, is the coastal area. And where the fisheries are living. So Bombay, I was talking that just see the Bombay, their life has not improved. The Kowali or something they're called. So these people living in the coastal area also, they uh, they uh, they're the marginalized people. Fishing area, just see how much social equity. When they are district way in the planning, you see the life in the coastal zone, where the outside the coastal zone, the planning, the city planning, they do not do justice with the people living in the marginalized people, because they don't have choices. Do you think these the fisheries people, they have had they have choices, can they come? Because why they are living in the coastal area? Because they cannot afford an expensive house in the town areas, so they live near the coastal areas. As you know, when the tsunami hit in 2003, and in Sri Lanka, I've been to Sri Lanka, then they were telling me that how much the fisheries community suffered. And in India also, either it is Assam. So the poverty further pushes the, poverty, social inequalities, it make it more sharper. Like the COVID, today only I got a call from a tailor master, the third call. Sir, there's any work you can recommend? I do not know when a daily wager can survive. So either it is a disaster, or at times the many, natural or man-made disaster. Who suffers? All the climate change. When the vagaries of the climate change, this is the people who are the marginalized people, they suffer. Even in Bihar, my experience as a DIG and as also as a ASP and SP, in Kosi disaster, in US you call it, ethnic issues. When in 2005, when the disaster visited in the, in US, in the, you know uh, and also the 2008 in Kosi disaster, flood, and just see that if you draw the corollary, so the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, very poor, and Musahar, very poor community people living in Bihar, in the certain districts where I was posted in Saharsa, Madhubani, all that. So when the disaster came, the relief was coming from different part of the district and states. It was not reaching down to these poor classes. Though SC, ST, these people complained to the SC, ST Commission of India. Then finally, my that time I was the SP and my DIG told, and we SP and collector we camp in and we were also patrolling in the boat just to ensure that some relief. Likewise, the city of New Orleans in USA, where the blacks knew, the ethnic poor community, they knew that in normal circumstances they are discriminated upon. They are discriminated. So maybe when the New Orleans in 2005 was visited by hurricane, so the poor black people, they were snatching the uh, milk, milk and water bottle and milk and some bread. So the local police there, they were subject to the global criticism that they were arresting them. Fact is that it was not a case of a theft. It was the conflict of social equity. You know that those people where the relief was not reaching because the white people, influential people, the relief was reaching to them, but these people, ethnic group, likewise in Bihar, the poor marginalized society, they were suffering and people were not going to take. So we went with very young spirited officer, a deputy superintendent of police, another, and me and my district magistrate, and we sent them to pull out them and take out snatch out some boats from the dominant section of the society and take them out and give them some relief. So the how the marginalized section suffer and poverty pushes further, the social inequality, socio-economic inequalities, they get sharper and sharper even in the natural and man-made disaster. The biological disaster presently, just how some school recently there was a news item that this school, private school, the children of some of the migrants who were studying in a private school, they could not afford. They pulled them back, put them in a Sarkari school where there is a free education because they cannot afford. And how this reverse migration has further affected the poverty and conflict of social equity again, that some of the children who are out from the system of education, as you know, 80% child, I had spoken in when I was talking about the digital divide in education, that 80% of the children in class 6, 7, 8, 9, my own batchmate, I got the figure from her when she was the, Tanmay may be knowing, she's this, what is her name? So school education secretary, she told me that, give me the figure which I have right now, that approximately 80% children drop out are in the rural areas and the suburban areas, are even in the, not metros, we can't talk, but generally in the B class town and the suburban areas and the rural areas, 80% of the children drop out. And again, the gender, divide, how gender divide is there, that majority percentage is 67% of women child, female child, they get out of the education sector. So presently this reverse migration, some of the migrant children who were in some kind of system in education, they have further got out. So these inequalities and deprivation of educational, because education is very important. Education only empower a poor person also to get education, and it is a great leveler. When this reverse migration has affected the poor people, the migrants family, they are suffering because they don't have money. And online again education, the online education is another example where it is increasing the social inequalities, because you might have heard a Kerala girl when she got to know that she didn't have access to to the smartphone. in India, you have in Delhi, you have around so-called 80%, more than 50%, 60% of digital coverage, but average coverage of digital coverage in India is still 10%. And when we talk about the digital coverage and the connectivity, where then some places where even if there is a connectivity, but connectivity is not reliable. The connections are coming and going, so they are suffering. So those areas, people living in the B class and C class town areas, and in the many part of the countries, and even if there is availability of net, but still, although the government of India, Bharat Net, I am sure Tanmay will give a much better figure on this. That is, they are doing very well. The target is that every household, and I mean all the panchayat, that every panchayat in India comprises of 15, 16 people. Anches panchayat is covered under the Bharat Net program. Only those people, because the poor people living in the village area, and they go into the panchayat. If the panchayat is not empowered, if it is not digitized, and it is not, there is no connectivity, how can they tell for applying for a job, for applying for admission, for everything, you need connectivity. These days, even anybody from a rural area, they want to apply for admission in Jamia Millia University or the DU University or any college in Delhi or any part of any big town. So they need to apply online. So online education, how NDTV was showing a father in a rural areas has one daughter and 2 cows, and he had to sell 1 cow just to to buy a kind of a smartphone for her daughter to education. So I talk about the health sector also. Just see, the social equity component is very important. Although the Government of India, Ministry of Health and Welfare, they are doing their best, even taking the use of technology and employing companies like Deloitte and TCS and whatnot. So they are trying to monitor, but still many poor people. In this also component, the social equity component is not fully integrated. When you are monitoring the health of the poor, because many poor people living in the rural areas, the ladies who are pregnant ladies, they do not go to get access to the government hospital. Government hospital also not in a they are not well equipped, as you know, in coronavirus Bihar and certain part of Eastern UP and all. They don't have the isolation, whatever, they don't have the proper adequate number of. So there also the health sector also, the social equity component is not fully integrated. When we are talking about when government is trying to see the health of an lactating mother or the pregnant mother, what kind of, how much nutrition she should get. There also the 25 to 30% women, they do not know, because of there is no knowledge, or because of our Anganwadi, etc. They are also not doing justice, that they should go and invite them, but these are the facility government of it. So they are not being properly fed, and they are supposed to monitor the health of the child 0 to 3 years under that scheme. So health sector everywhere, until unless a child wants to become engineer, is healthy and is education, getting a right education, then how can he contribute whatever the goods and resources the government is providing, the administration is providing, if he's not healthy? So definitely he cannot give back to the society what society is giving to the child. So education, I talk about their dropout. I talk about the women, female child is more, so approximately 80%. It's very important that now, because of the reverse migration, the dropout and migration from good school, private school, to government school, from government school to no schooling. What is happening? That child who could become an officer because of the good education, now that child is left with no option but to become a laborer. The same child could have become a, you know, doctor, engineer, or at least some skill, acquired some skill, which could have given him a good livelihood. But it was not possible because of the state. So state, of course, the NGOs, the society, there are NGOs who are doing very good work in Jharkhand area, Chhattisgarh area, and I think Tatas are working in many such areas. They're doing a lot of work, but it is very important that the institution, the state players and the institution, they must incorporate the social equity component in whatever project they are planning. Either it is health sector or it is a, and also it's very important that these people must get a say and must get the equitable resources and the opportunities to participate in the, and to be informed and to participate in the decision making of the at the local, uh, you know, the 3-tier level and 2-tier level. That's very important. So what are the what are the models, how to integrate? There has been a research, but again, I am not very comfortable, but this research are not India based, but again, government Niti Aayog is finding the
Yes,
way out.
sir.
Most important thing is the
The
time is over.
time is,
Okay,
yeah,
just
the
2 minutes.
time is coming.
I
Yeah,
just giving 2 minutes, just so I'll go very fast. 2 minutes,
yeah.
you give me 2-3 minutes. So it's very important to how to address the challenges, the culture and political sensitivity is very important, that housing, neighborhood conditions, transport, energy, conservation, economic, everything. So they to bring about this component is very important, that these in the community is whenever the decision making is taking place, the stakeholders, these people, this collaborative model, they are, they must be involved in the decision making. This is very important. So the collaboration with the local non-profits, collaboration with the university, collaboration with the private sector partner, the also the you know, the suppose there is a coastal area, to the fishermen and all. So local, those people, they have to be consulted, you know, I mean the teachers, education level for the education and all, and also for the medical people. So collaborative model is very important, you know, to set the equity goals that specify and the address and need of the marginalized member of the community. The strategy ensures that the, you know, specific choices can be considered ahead during the policy. So overall, the idea is that the state player, right at the planning level, they must incorporate the social